We do have NFL news, and this can bleed over a little bit into the next segment as well, but we have to talk Odell Beckham Jr. getting guaranteed $15 million, Michael, to the Ravens. And we were talking when the tweets were coming out, I'm not asking for $20 million. I'm just not asking for $4 million, right? And then he ends up getting this deal?
I mean, if any other team, this deal to me is the Arizona Cardinals when Steve Keim was running their team. Sign an old guy who's got name appeal but isn't the same player. AJ Green. We're going to sign this guy. Like, to me, are you serious? You wouldn't pay Hollywood Brown. You got a first-round pick for him. Good. But you're going to pay this guy $13 million? Now, there's no way this is a one-year deal. It'll be a 5-year deal or a 4-year deal that voids to 1. It'll be a 1-year deal. But carrying a cap number of $13 or $14 million to me seems a really challenge for the Baltimore Ravens, so it has to be one of those fake, phony deals. But how does this make them better? Here's what I don't understand. The guy scored 35 touchdowns his first 3 years in the league. He hasn't scored 35 since then. His catch percentage his first year in the league was at 70. He hasn't been near that at any point in his career. His last full season he played with Cleveland, he had 133 targets. He had 77 catches. Like, his catch ratio has always been around 52%. Like, we have made him into this star because he has this appeal, this growl. He's Odell. Is he really that good? I know he played well in the Super Bowl, but he had Cooper Kupp. Robert Woods played good with Cooper Kupp too, right? Yeah. But then when Robert Woods went back to Tennessee, he wasn't the same player. Like, sometimes we just have made this guy out to be way better than he is. He's a good player. I'm not saying he's not. But is he worth this money? It's ridiculous. And if any other team would have given him this deal, they would have gotten ripped.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. That deal, you can tell, wasn't out there anywhere else.
Nowhere.
And so he obviously, he secures the bag and then some with Baltimore. But this is a guy who's 30 years old. He is on the back 9 of his career. He's coming off a torn ACL. Hasn't played in a year and a half. Yes. It's and he's a fine player. I think he's a number 2 or 3 wide receiver anywhere else, but he's going to be number 1 in Baltimore. But he's not Jerry Rice. Like this, you're not bringing in a Devontae Adams or a Travis Kelce or a player that moves the needle.
Well, he moves the needle on the worldwide leader because they love to talk about him, and he moves the needle in the PR aspect because everybody loves to talk about Odell, but he doesn't move the needle against defensive coordinators. You think any defensive coordinator is going to be worried about him?
I wouldn't be. I mean, he can make the big play at any moment, but as far as being a consistent threat, no.
All right, I asked Femi this question today on the GM Shuffle. What would you set the number for games he plays next year for Baltimore?
Ugh. Like an over-under?
Yeah.
I would still say 11.
Femi said it at 12.5. I said I'm taking the under. I think your number's right. I think 11's the right number. I don't think he'll play more than 11. I would be shocked. He's not going to have the Zion Williamson, I've got a hamstring for 8 years injury, but he's going to have some injury. We should label the Zion Williamson injury. We should categorize that. That is, to me, the Mount Rushmore of hamstring injuries. It has to be.
We'll give you, the folks at home, a little bit of a tease. We're going to have some folks stepping into Michael Lombardi's office later on in the show. He may or may not be one of them.
I did not look at that, so I brought that up because it just irritates the hell out of me that this guy has missed all this time with a hamstring injury. I don't understand it. I don't even comprehend it.
When we talk about moving the needle, we usually talk about that with regards to odds, with regards to how that's going to change the functionality of a team. I think when we come back, we should identify, does that move the needle with Lamar Jackson?
That's a great question. And Femi had some observations. I don't think it does. Money's the only needle mover here, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile having the conversation, especially because we saw that he was right there on FaceTime chatting with OBJ, posted the picture of it on social media for the world to see. Dun, dun, dun. OBJ to the Ravens. More on that when we come back. Does this move the needle at all in terms of Lamar signing?
I don't know how it does because, they gave him $13 million. If you were going to move the needle on Lamar, why not give him the $13 million, right? So the thing I find fascinating, having worked here at VSiN for the last 4 years, is the impact of a player signing, how it relates to the market. And this didn't even move it an inch, right? Not even an eighth of an inch, right?
Yeah, BetMGM had the Ravens sitting there at 25-1. They're still 25-1, plus 350 in the AFC North, 14-1 in the AFC. So no movement in any of the major markets for the Ravens.
It's going to come down to, can they get a deal done with them? And we know that they have tried, but they seem to. But maybe this is the turning point. Maybe they feel like, what is all alternative if we don't sign them? We talked about where would they go for a quarterback. Let's say that we play it out. Let's say they make a trade, send Lamar to Indianapolis. Are you picking Richardson to think he could be replaced Lamar? Lamar's won 45 games in his NFL career. No one talks about that. I think a lot of the problems why Lamar isn't getting a contract, twofold. A, he doesn't have an agent, and B, people are still clinging to that they were right about his draft process. He could have been a receiver. Nobody wants to give him credit for the winning games.
Yeah,
like he's won a lot of
over 70% of the games.
Yes,
he's played.
He's won a lot of games, and on the same team that Joe Flacco couldn't win any games on, they put him in and he made the playoffs. Like he gets no credit for the wins. Nobody understands. Winning 45, 46 games in the NFL is hard. I know he gets killed for the not winning in the playoffs. Winning in the regular season is no walk in the park. Ask Baker Mayfield.
Well, and I gave you the exact stat last week. I don't have it on the top of my head, but I want to say the Ravens' last 2 years are like 3-9 or something like that.
That's
in the
exactly
games he
what
didn't
they
start.
are. They're 3-9 since he doesn't play. And, there's a perception that they win without him. And then you corrected it with your 3-9 stat. Like, you're right. There's too much perception about this team that they're really effective. And I don't think, and I've said this for 3-4 years now, they have done a good job of building a team around him. I've watched this kid since he was a sophomore at Louisville. And he is a very accurate quarterback from the numbers to the numbers. He's not an accurate quarterback outside the numbers. The guy finds a way to win games. Won the Heisman at Louisville. He's going to beat Clemson in Clemson if the chain marker for the receiver was on the other side of the field. The kid stepped out of bounds. He's going to get a first down. They're going to beat Clemson in that game. So I just feel like I don't know where Baltimore thinks they're going to get a solution. Like, do they really think they're going to win with Tyler Huntley? And okay, let's go play this one through. Odell had 133 targets with Baker Mayfield. He caught 77 passes or something like that is the last year. How many targets do you think he's going to get with Tyler Huntley?
Well, so this is why I wonder if Odell Beckham Jr., like if he knows something that we don't know when it comes to Lamar Jackson, that he might have some relationship and they're talking outside of the Ravens brass and he's saying, okay, yeah, we're going to find a way to get this done. We're going to be teammates. We're going to play together.
If they had that relationship, wouldn't Lamar have his agent?
So that was a great follow-up because my biggest takeaway from this entire thing is that if OBJ is getting this, imagine if Lamar just had his agent. Like, the things would be done. Everything would be fine, glowing, rave reviews.
Rosenhaus was on Pat McAfee and said, if I had this, we would get a deal. Jimmy Sexton from CAA, if he did it, he'd have a deal. I mean, any one of these good agents who are out there, Lamar would have moved.
And the reason why I think it's stupid at this point is you don't have to pay this guy 8-10%. Pay him 1%.
Just tell him what you got to pay him.
Yeah, just give him a figure. Exactly.
Just give him
Move
a fee.
on.
It's like he's gonna get you more money if you just give him a fee. I'll say this: if Don Martindale had gotten the Colt job, I think Lamar Jackson's a Colt because Martindale was with him in Baltimore. They have an unbelievable relationship. So, like, I would think he would be tooting the horn because he sees it, he understands it. See how things just shift. But I think a lot of this is people just trying to justify. I didn't like him coming out and see. But how do you justify that? How do you take away the wins from this guy?
You can't. And that's why I know they say wins aren't a quarterback stat, but there are instances where it should be.
They are a stat. Trust me, they are. That's. I mean, look, Derek Carr, he can't win 45 games. How many years? He's won 65? How many years has he been? Well, the Raiders don't have any good. Everybody, Femi's got a bag load of excuses. I mean, like everybody has an excuse. No, except nobody makes an excuse for Lamar. He can't win a big game.
Yeah, and it's
and he's going to get hurt. But
you signed the wide receiver who
always is hurt.
Now, granted, the Ravens certainly did need a receiver. That room is lacking. None of the 8 guys that are in that room right now have had a 1,000-yard season before.
How do you think Nelson Aguilar feels today?
Yeah. Rashad Bateman.
He got $4 million.
Devin Duvernay.
He got $4 million, a bad contract. He signed a 1-year deal with the Ravens. He played all of last year. Now, how much difference do you think there is between Nelson Aguilar and Odell Beckham?
Not not 12 million, not
exactly
13 million.
My point. Exactly my point.
Baltimore, though, has ranked last in the NFL in receiving yards by wideouts in 3 of the last 4 seasons. Todd Monken and OBJ do have a little familiarity. Spent that last year of his in Cleveland in 2019,
which even makes it more maddening because he wasn't any good in Cleveland. Like
that last year was his last 1,000-yard season.
Well, but he had 133 targets. I mean, you can get 1,000 yards too if I target you every ball.
So let's look at the.
How many yards do you think he averaged per game that season, Stormy?
I don't know.
All right, let me set the number at 45. You going over or under?
I would go over 45 per game.
He averaged 35 yards per game that season. Yeah, 35.
I would have gone over that. Yeah, I would have said at least 50. Interesting.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're signing a $18 million receiver, and he's not even getting 50 yards a game.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.